It's my planet. It's your planet. It's our planet. It's mostly my planet. And here on this planet, baby, all the dogs have dog houses. Planet Hog. Yes, indeed. Happy good morning to all of you. Happy good morning. Hope everybody is doing well. You know, I just thought I was sitting here having and this is, I don't want to go too far into this because this really could be its own discussion. But man, women really do ruin everything. They really do. And I don't think it's malicious in most cases. I just don't. I think they just can't help themselves. Uh, I was just thinking, and no, this is not. This doesn't have any real world. Um, this isn't brought about by anything. The lady and I are doing fine, but the real world, just overrunning, teeming with examples. But anyway, I was just thinking today. I'm old enough now to have grown up. When I was younger, I remember that one of the things that were, at least the way I was raised, that was reinforced was the idea of gender things. Like, there's a better way to say that, right? Gender things. Was the idea that, this is for boys, this is for girls. So, like, I didn't play with dolls. But if you, like, then they had that giant G.I. Joe, which was basically made like a Barbie, but they called that an action figure. So, okay. These little mental gymnastics and little tweaks, silly, but purposeful. Well, anyway, one of those things under that boy umbrella that I can remember was growing up, dogs were considered man's best friend, and cats were a girl thing. I don't know if you guys remember that. I was born in '85, so I mean, I definitely remember those days where it was just seen as though, I mean, that's not saying there weren't women who had dogs. Obviously, yes, but overwhelmingly, and even on TV and in advertising and movies and things of that nature, things that kind of engineer our behavior, you often would see women depicted with cats sing individually. Now, if she was with a guy and he had a dog, then she would be seen with a dog. But then overwhelmingly, you would see men with dogs. You would very rarely see men with cats. And then sometime around maybe, I want to say it was like around 2000, you started to see more and more women with dogs, even in real life. Because I remember a few of our neighbors, and the ones that were married, yeah, there was dogs. Where there was a man living in the house, there was a dog. Anyway, I was just thinking about that and how that's evolved. Even that's changed. Because I mean, back then, all the dogs had dog houses. Planet Hog. You saw dog houses. Most of the time, dogs slept outside. There's a bowl there. They come in, they eat, or they bring the food out to them, and they just chill in their dog house. And then all of a sudden, seemingly overnight, that was deemed inhumane, which is, I think, a stupid method of measuring how we treat something that's not human, but doesn't have human sensibilities. But we can't let things not making sense get in the way of good social policies, right? So, but then I remember overnight, all of a sudden, all the dogs were in the house. And I remember that was weird for a while. Like, some people had like little dogs that would be in the house. Again, speaking across the board, there are obviously little exceptions to everything I'm saying that were existing back then. But overall, most of the dogs spent most of their time outside. Maybe some people let them sleep in, and then they put them back out in the morning. But then all of a sudden, it went from them just sleeping in the house to now they've got a place in the house, and now They're on the couch, and now they're in your bed, and now you're kissing them, which is disgusting. Like whenever I would see that in a dating profile, it's off. Swipe, swipe. You're gross. You're disgusting, bitch. It licks its ass. In a lot of cases, it eats its own shit, and you just kissed it. Okay. So all of a sudden, all these changes. All of a sudden, groups like ASPCA and PETA and all these other groups, they have a lot. They're a lot louder than they used to be. Used to be you just, you're just an infomercial in the middle of the night that I can just kind of move. Now they're getting people. They basically got Michael Vick arrested. And I'm like, well, what happened? Why? Why now? Why did that? What brought that change about? I can't see any other answer that ticks all of the boxes other than women. More women got involved. More women started having dogs. Oh, this isn't right. And then you start seeing those stupid little sweaters and shirts. And then they became an accessory. And then you became a savage as a man if you didn't adapt to these things. If you were dating a woman who thinks that way, and even now if you're dating one that thinks that way, and they find out that the way you rear your dog is, well, not quite as modern as the way they do it, that could be a deal breaker over something that's not even theirs. Anyway, like I said, I don't want to veer too far into that because this is a much broader discussion, broader to the third power, because there's other things where you can you can chart this same path. You can formulate this same argument. But I'm not here to talk to you about that. Today I'm here to talk to you about the two individuals that you see on your screen there. And the fruit of the poisonous tree. Now, I guess I should say right off the bat, I'm not using that in the legal context, which would, I believe, refers to methods of discovery. Like if a cop broke a law to find evidence against you, he can't use that evidence. It's that evidence is the fruit of the poisonous tree. I believe that's the legal context for that. There you go, putting that degree to use. But that's not the context in which I'm using it. The context in which I'm using it, ladies and gentlemen, is more like Snow White, if you will. Saw it once. You're allowed to see it. That was like the rule. You could watch girl movies or movies that weren't like I haven't seen them all the princess movies. I wasn't allowed to watch them. Which, thumbs up for me. I don't know why you have your boy watching fucking Sleeping Beauty. The fuck's the matter with you? But I think I saw Snow White once because I was at my cousin's birthday party. And it was playing, and I remember my dad came and said, "What are you watching?" I was like, "It was on TV, Dad." "All right, come outside." But Snow White, fruit of the poisonous tree. I'm talking about a literal. Oh, excuse that. I'm talking about a literal, in the sense of this analogy. So I guess I should say a figurative poison apple. I'm talking about the Halloween craze of the razor blade and the apple. I'm talking about the Trojan horse. I'm talking about taking unto yourself the device of your own destruction. So we'll start with the low-hanging fruit in this equation. And in that case, it would be Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's the lady at the bottom of your screen there. I mean, perhaps you are familiar with her. If you are someone listening to this, you probably are. If you're somebody who's followed me, you probably are. She's got a lot of fanfare amongst conservatives and all this because she has a flair for the dramatic. I will say that. You know, she was the first one with Stop the Steal. And she's got all the chants down pat. But I don't trust her. Sorry, I don't. I don't trust the person that goes out of their way to constantly remind and try and convince you that this is what they stand for. At a certain time, it becomes an act, if even to conjure the requisite amount of enthusiasm to convince people that this is what you believe. Inevitably, it will become an act. Now, I don't know this woman. A lot of people don't because she seemingly came out of nowhere. Another red flag. Then, of course, you can talk about the QAnon stuff that she was linked to and all the, well, what the left likes to call the radical, unfounded conspiracies. It's kind of funny that, QAnon is a conspiracy. No one's denying that. But Antifa is an idea. That's not a conspiracy. COVID, all these deaths that the CDC themselves have come back and said, okay, it's not all these people. Okay, so is that a conspiracy now? Can we say that? Anyhow, she came out of nowhere. And when I look at her, I'm gonna be directly honest with you. I see AOC. I see the Republican version of AOC. I see a woman who saw an opportunity to be famous, an opportunity to make a name for herself. And I'm not saying either one of these two things are bad. I am saying that they make for a questionable politician. And I think she saw the AOC model and how it's worked, where you really just have to, you know, make a few remarks, just kind of make these fleeting kind of comments and have all these grandiose ideas that never actually come into fruition. I saw a report that showed that AOC is actually the least effective, one of the least effective members of Congress. She's in the bottom. But that hasn't stopped her from living the life and being the queen of Instagram. And I think that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think that's her endgame. Maybe not Instagram, maybe something bigger. But when I see her and I listen to her and I observe even her mannerisms, how wildly animated she is. Remind you of anybody? How she seemingly says things without thinking. Remind you of anybody? Like this latest charade and fiasco in the making, she wants to debate AOC on the Green New Deal, on the merits of the Green New Deal. First of all, debate is dead. Okay, so all we really want to do is have the political version of WWF fucking Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson wrestling in a kiddie pool of mud. That's the political version of what we're about to see if this happens. Why am I saying that? Well, because number one, the Green New Deal is nonsense. So we're basing all of our arguments off of a theoretical, at best, concept. So if I debated you on Star Wars, which Star Wars is actually more concrete than the Green New Deal. But the point is, there's nothing scientific about this in terms of Star Wars. It's not based in any real science. It's based on something someone created. Oddly similar to the Green New Deal. If you would like to take the time to read it, it's not very long. It's like 14 pages. I read it twice. I read it. I usually read it when I'm taking a shit. It helps things flow a little bit better. But so not only do you step in the ring for this, carnival attraction, but then she says, yeah, I haven't even read the Green New Deal yet. So you challenge someone, and that's the thing. Like, there's one thing about trying to, game your opponent and intimidate them and I don't even have to practice to beat you. That's not how you do that. That actually makes you look stupid because it's like, okay, well, why would you challenge her to a debate if you're not even familiar with the material you're proposing to debate about? But again, it's about getting in front of the camera. That's why all of her masks have all these provocative statements on it. Stop the steal. Well, it's too late for that. The steal already happened. So why do you still have a stop the steal mask? Because I'm virtue signaling. So no, I am not interested in the red version of AOC. And again, I can be 100% wrong. Well, not again. I don't think I've said this yet. I can be 100% wrong on her, and if I am, I will come back on here and say that I was wrong. But this is the impression I get about her just in the short context that I've been aware of her, in the short time frame. And that's not to say I haven't looked up her videos, because I have. This is an informed hypothesis. It is. But I am admitting that other than this past year, nope, hadn't heard of her. Couldn't tell you who she was. And I don't think I'm alone in that either. Because I don't remember ever hearing about her on Fox News. I don't remember ever hearing about her on any other conservative platform. So, anyway, let's move to the other one. Well, and I know what you're thinking. Oh, I see what you did. Low-hanging fruit. No, we don't make those kind of jokes here. But if we did, they'd be funny. Let's talk about Caitlyn Jenner. And right off the bat, ooh, you referred to this person as Caitlyn. Yes, I did. So I think well-meaning conservatives, they take the wrong route in this battle. Because I do not, as most conservatives do not, consider this person to be a woman. Sorry, it's just a little thing called science. Little thing called biology, little thing called anatomy. Sorry. Not sorry. But in that, so I will refer to him as Caitlyn. You have the right, the legal right to change your name. The name change is actually irrespective of anything else. If Bruce Jenner just walked in as the way he was when he won the gold medal, we call it Bruce Jenner vintage. If he went in and said, hey, I'm changing my name to Caitlyn, you'd have to call him Caitlyn. Flavor Flav, that's not his real name. Chad Ochocinco, not his real name. Not his given name, I should say. Not their given name. But it is their real name because they had it changed legally. So when conservatives refer to Caitlyn as Bruce, I'm like, that's the wrong route here. That's a losing battle because legally you can change your name. The battle here and where my line is drawn is always a him. And sometimes, yes, will I slip up and say her? Absolutely. But only because of this stupid thing. For most of my life, Caitlyn was a girl's name, so my mind just kind of associates Caitlyn with her and not him. But you got to kind of warp your brain in these warped times. So I'll refer to him as Caitlyn, absolutely, but never as her. And again, if I do, I will correct it. And if I don't correct it here and you hear it, correct me, shit. Because it's very important to, again, when you repeat the lie, once you internalize the lie, you've already lost. Especially with a people that predicate so much of their attack on the misuse and re-engineering of how we use words. So anyway, that aside, I feel like that's my preamble for whenever I get into a discussion about Caitlyn Jenner. So, Caitlyn has decided that he wants to run for governor of California. And this was a bit paradoxical to me because in a perfect world, he would run, But because of the social status involved, he would be the ultimate weapon. Because, and I'm sure you've seen it on discussion boards, message boards, social media. Well, if California doesn't vote for Caitlyn, then they're transphobic by their own logic. Well, you can't snare a liberal with liberal logic. I don't know how many times I have to tell people this. You can't. They don't value facts. So you can't. Logic really has no gravitas with them unless they want to use it against you. It's kind of like how the law of armed combat works against us when we're fighting these wars. We have all of these rules about how we will fight and what we won't do. And that's most important. That's mostly highlighted. What is not allowed, what we cannot do. And some of the things, if we were to go through it, they might shock you. And it severely hampers our ability to effectively fight wars. But we do it because we've created some sort of moral standard for slaughter that makes us feel better, that makes the people feel better. It's really about the people. That makes all the people who read their newspaper feel better about a fight that they're not even actually in. But, we want to tell the people who have volunteered to do it for you how, at the expense of their lives. Kind of like how that works against us, because other countries are very familiar with it. Why do you think the Taliban's not using, why do you think this newest wave of Islamic extremism, uniforms are gone? And I think you'll start to see that too in civilized wars, if you will. Wars between actual established powers. That'll go away. Because of how, there's certain locations you can't fire on unless someone shoots first because of what it is, like a church, like a hospital. If they wear a red cross, you cannot fire on them unless they fire on you. Well, the thing about that is if they get the first shot, So anyway, that kind of works the same way politically. You have this person who, in an ideal world, yes, if LOAC was social woke justice, if the law of armed conflict was social woke justice, if California were not to vote for Caitlyn, that would be tantamount to someone shooting a person with a red cross in a combat situation that followed LOAC. Yes, because you have flagrantly disregarded and violated the dogma, the code. But we don't live in that world. Lassoing liberals with their own logic is like trying to lasso Wonder Woman with her magical lasso. So you need to move more defensive in your thinking. Because the other fallacy in this, I was like, man, that's a perfect plan. And that's literally when I snapped out of it. I said, oh yeah, no, it can't be. Because, and please, tell me, when have the Republicans ever demonstrated cunning? When has guile and strategy ever been a Republican strong suit? And you can say Donald Trump. No, their hand was forced with Donald Trump. They got in line with the mass of people. That's not cunning. That's a Republican specialty of submitting to the louder voice. It's usually Democrats. This time it was the people. So I'm like, yeah, it's a perfect plan. That's how I know it's not going to work out, because Republicans are not crafty. They refuse to do what is necessary to win. They, for all intents and purposes, fight like the English fought the American settlers in the American Revolution. A very rigid, antiquated way of engaging. But there's honor attached to it. Oh, we lost with honor. Oh, well, we have to preserve the system. It's about preserving the system, as Mike Pence allowed Joe Biden to usurp the presidency. And it's like, at what point do you realize it's like, oh no, we have to fight for the greater thing. We have to save the ship. Don't give up the ship. Okay, but if the ship is 90% underwater, what are you saving? Anyway, so no, the realistic, I think, approach. I don't know why that word was so hard for me to say in that moment. The realistic approach is the Republicans are not cunning. So anything that can be used against them will be used against them. And Caitlyn is that. Caitlyn is a Trojan horse. The question is, for whom? Because as far as I'm concerned now, Republicans need to be spending their energy politically purifying their ranks. Brian Kemp, the Never Trumpers. All of these people, Liz Cheney. All of these people who have been dissenting opinions, they need to remove. They need to make sure they're not carrying the Republican banner. Because, look, I know there's a lot of rah-rahs who went back out and voted after what we saw. And God bless you, Icarus. Keep rolling that ball of wax towards the sun. So, if that's you, I'm not telling you what you could do with your vote. I just think it's kind of dumb. You saw them cheat. The New York Times ended up publishing an article basically saying, yeah, we cheated. But yeah, I'm going to go vote. They won't cheat this time. Okay. Okay. If that's how you guys think, that's fine. And if some of you ladies think that way, I want to date you. But no, in all seriousness, I just don't understand. And so it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? Just sit at home? Well, we do need to come up with a different strategy. I will say that. We do need to come up with a different strategy. Seems like all the secession talk has cooled off. That's unfortunate, but predictable. So anyway, getting back to Caitlyn. No, bringing this person into your ranks under your banner at a time where your own voting base is divided and not necessarily divided amongst each other, although I'm sure there are segments of that. I'm more divided is actually not even the best word. Delaminated is probably the best word, where we've kind of delaminated from you because we don't know which ones of you that we can trust. Lincoln Project for 4 years, and then we just kind of all sat by and watched this happen. But get out and vote. Get out and go fuck yourself. So at a time where people are still trying to figure out in their minds and in their hearts if they can give you their vote in all good conscience, how do you rectify bringing in this transgender person into this party under your banner? How do you sell that to your voting base in, well, let's say Montana, let's say Alabama, let's say here in Florida, who don't endorse or agree with that lifestyle, but that person is now a part of their political spectrum? How do you say that, no, the party's not moving further to the left? No, we're the same. We still have our conservative principles. How do you say that at this point? And you know what? Maybe this needs to happen. Maybe this will be the death blow to the Republican Party. Because maybe that will be the last straw and people will say, you know what? New party. I do not want, no. the Republican Party constantly moving towards the Democrats politically, the Overton window. No, we need somebody who's going to dig their heels in and start pulling back. Like the Republicans are it's almost like it's a game of tug of war between Republicans and Democrats. And the Democrats are like pulling, they're a professional team, not as strong, but they just know how to pull together. And then on the Republican side, you have a bunch of strong individuals, but they don't know how to pull together. And then you have some dead weight in there that's not pulling at the right vector. Oh, maybe they're standing out too far, so they're loosening the rope. They don't have the technique at all. And then on top of that, they're wearing roller skates. So no, I don't. This is a bad decision on both accounts. You have no guarantees that Caitlyn Jenner will come into office as a Republican and not make quote unquote misgendering a crime. You have no guarantees. And this blind faith, it reminds me of something. Oh, I remember hearing something about these Supreme Court justices that were going to be just so great. It's just, at a certain point, you can't blame the Democrats for being so deviant when Republicans and conservative voters en masse are so goddamn gullible, are so goddamn docile. Yeah, I understand that conservatives, generally speaking, are more principled people than liberals. Absolutely. Got it. Conservatives have religious and moral foundations and foundries that they take more seriously than liberals. I agree with that 100%. But that's not an excuse to be a sucker. So I'm I'm dubious, to say the least, about both Jenner and Greene for different reasons. But both of them are, in my opinion, and again, if I am wrong, I will come back and I will address it. But Jenner represents just as an individual, this does not fly in this party. And it's not about being transphobic. Okay, not a real thing. Not afraid of you. Nope. It's about what you represent. The fact that we can't even agree on what pronoun to call you probably should tell you. And I think there was something that happened recently where a reporter, I think it was on Fox or one of these news outlets, maybe it was like The Hill or The Guardian or somebody who was interviewing Caitlyn, used the gender pronoun that he no longer wants to respond to. I didn't see the response because that'll be very interesting. However he responds, that's going to be very interesting. He can't be offended because that's the party. But if he's not offended, then he loses his status as, the victim with the left. So we'll see. It's an incompatible match. Sorry. It is a interracial couple dating in the deep south in the 1900s. It's not going to work. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm wrong, I will come right back on and say I was wrong. I was wrong. I'll sing the wrong song. So wrong, we're wrong, wrong, wrong. Anyway, Appreciate you guys tuning in. And look, man, if you disagree, that's what that comment section below is for. I'm not saying that all the things I say are correct, although a lot of them are. Just give it time. But anyway, I appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you later on. So until the next time, as we do it here, peace out, homie.